Hello everyone and welcome to today's presentation. My name is Dr. Iva Ugrc and I'm a professional flutist, educator, entrepreneur and activist and your presenter today. I want to thank my dear friends and colleagues Dr. Sangmi and Dr. Dino Mulić for inviting me to be part of this year's Piano Celebration Week. Before we start and dive into how-tos, I would love to give you a little bit of a background about me. I'm originally from Serbia, where I received my undergraduate degree in music performance. Shortly after, I moved to Paris for my master's degree and then spent a couple of years moving around Europe before I decided to move to the US for my doctoral degree. During these years, I experienced many troubling situations that nearly stopped me from pursuing music. While poor political and economic situations were among the issues that ultimately led to my departure of Serbia, one of the most troubling problems I faced was gender inequality and sexual harassment. These experiences led me to focusing my doctoral dissertation on the life and compositional output of Dino Rotaru, an extraordinary woman from Eastern Europe. The intent of my dissertation, Dino Rotaru, the Voice of Romania, was to introduce this Romanian composer to the US, giving her music the recognition it so richly deserves. The immensely positive responses I received validated what I already knew to be true, that there are many women artists who have much to say, but they have not had the opportunity to share their voices with the world. As soon as I graduated with my doctoral degree, I decided to do something about this and give my contribution in changing the landscape of the position of women in the arts. So I founded LunART Inc., a non-profit arts organization whose mission is to support, inspire, promote, and celebrate women in the arts through public performances, exhibitions, workshops, and interdisciplinary collaboration. Besides running this organization and serving as its CEO and artistic director, I also serve as the artistic director of the Role Musicians Forum, an annual concert series. I hold the board liaison and strategic initiatives role in the biggest nonprofit arts organization in Wisconsin, and I enjoy my rich and exciting performance career. I'm telling you all of this to give you a background for today's presentation, which is centered around forming an organization and help you understand the importance of the first two steps needed to create a successful, sustainable, and impactful nonprofit. So let's dive straight into it. Passion for cause. Ask yourself what you want to do and why. What change would you like to see? Is this what you truly believe in? If you're not passionate about the cause and you do not believe in its power to change and influence people and your community, you cannot expect for people to follow you. Passion is contagious. Donors, patrons, partners, sponsors, team members, participants, and people you're serving will feel empowered and show greater commitment to the organization and its mission if they see a passionate and enthusiastic leader. Never underestimate the power of passion. And let me tell you something, starting a business or a nonprofit is a lot of work, and you better be passionate about it and 300% invested. Otherwise, it will never work. Research. Do your due diligence and research what else is out there. Are there groups that are engaged in similar work? How deep is their impact? What audience, clients do they serve? How does the funding landscape look like? And will you be tapping into the same resources? Just as starting any business, you will need to define the demand and market for the services your organization would provide. What I did during the planning phase for LunART was talk to people in and outside of my community, pitch my idea, and listen to their responses, feedbacks, suggestions, reservations, excitement, ideas. By doing this, I was already creating allies and a network of people excited to see this idea come to life. Now, let's say you found out that your idea is unique and worth pursuing. What next? Mission and vision statement. Creating a mission and vision statement are critical for any business or venture. It is your guiding principle and it will help you focus your idea. Many people decide to leave this part for later, like when you're actually decided to create a legal entity. But I would suggest you think about this as soon as possible. It focuses on your goals and values. So here are some simple definitions of the mission and vision statements. A mission statement defines the company's business, its objectives, and its approach to reach those objectives. For example, here is LunART's mission statement. The mission of LunART is to support, inspire, promote, and celebrate women in the arts through public performances, exhibitions, workshops, and interdisciplinary collaboration, thus enriching our community and creating a welcoming space for learning and experimentation. Or, for example, Nike's mission. Our mission is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. If you have a body, you're an athlete. A vision statement describes the desired future position of the company or organization. So here is an example for LunART. The vision of the LunART is to empower women in the arts by fostering originality, honoring diversity, and strengthening equality. And here is what Nike's vision is. We see a world where everybody is an athlete, united in the joy of movement. Driven by our passion for sport and our instinct for innovation, we aim to bring inspiration to every athlete in the world and to make sport a daily habit. When writing a vision statement, try to be concise, honest, infuse the passion, and make it inspiring. Since you will spend a lot of time thinking, rethinking, writing, and rewriting your statements, you will have it memorized and it will serve you as your elevator pitch. These statements are who you are, what your organization is all about, and who you are inspiring to be. You need to be excited every time you hear and say your mission and vision statement and get energized with its potentials. Okay, now you have a great idea. You did your research and know there is a need for what you want to offer. And you have amazing mission and vision statement to help you focus your energy. So you have the necessary ingredients to make this happen. Now let's talk about forming an organization. Before forming an organization, you should understand the types of structures available so that you can choose the one that will provide the most benefits to the type of organization you're planning on running. So here are your options. For most people, especially in the arts, a non-profit corporation offers the most advantages. However, make sure you investigate all of these options and choose the right one for you. For the sake of this presentation, let's focus on nonprofits. A nonprofit organization is a legal entity organized and operated for a collective benefit, in contrast with an entity that operates as a business aiming to generate a profit for its owners. This means that any revenues that exceed expenses must be committed for an organization's purpose, not to be taken by private parties. This also means that in case the organization is dissolving, all the funds will be distributed only to another tax-exempt organization, and it cannot be taken by individuals. A lot of people use nonprofit and tax-exempt interchangeably, but there is a big distinction here. Most of arts organizations have a tax exemption status. This means that they do not pay tax to the IRS and also qualify to receive tax-deductible contributions. However, Newly formed nonprofits usually do not have the tax-exempt status, which means donors and corporate sponsors can write off their gifts to your organization, which is a huge perk for them. You also won't be eligible for most grants. Because nonprofits still need to raise money and apply for grants in the startup phase, even before they receive the tax-exempt status, it is important to use a fiscal sponsor during this beginning phase. Fiscal sponsorship. Using a fiscal sponsorship agreement offers a way for your organization to attract donors even when it is not yet recognized as tax-exempt under Internal Revenue Code Section 501c3. This means that you can still collect tax-deductible contributions, and it can also help you in grant application. As I mentioned before, most of the foundations and grants require you to have a fiscal sponsor or have a 501c3 tax and exemption status. Thankfully, there are many organizations out there that can offer you the fiscal receiver agreement. This is exactly what I did with LunART. I decided to test the water and run the organization solely using fiscal sponsors. I actually used 2 fiscal sponsors, one in my state of Wisconsin and one on a national level. The one I would recommend at a national level is Fractured Atlas, and they can help you with the grant writing, managing individual donations, selling tickets, and much more. Also, I'm sure you can find an entity that can serve as your sponsor in your community. I would always argue to have both options available to you, as it can provide you with different benefits and perks. For example, a national grant would prefer to work with an established organization such as Fractured Atlas. On the other hand, working with a bigger company means more paperwork, longer processing time, slower customer service, and so forth. So your individual donor might prefer to work with a smaller, local company that they know personally and have already established relationship with. After 2 years of a proven track record of financial and organizational management with excellent growth record, I felt confident about creating a nonprofit, incorporating LunART, and filing for 501c3 status. The reason why I waited 2 years to file is threefold. I wanted to confirm that my organization was filling the important gap and was in demand, that it has the potential to grow, and that I'm still interested in running the organization. Filing for corporation and 501c3 status is a crazy amount of work, and you'll want to be sure you really want to make it happen. Don't be in a rush to file. Use fiscal receivers and make sure your business plan is working and that you're really in it for the long haul. Now, let's move forward. How to form a nonprofit. The first step in starting a nonprofit organization is to incorporate the nonprofit in your resident state. Here is what you need to do. Number 1, choose a name. This is the fun part where you get to be creative. However, you need to make sure that the name you choose is not taken. Your state's corporation office can tell you how to find out whether your proposed name is available for you to use or not. Number 2, domain name. Alongside choosing a name, you'll want to confirm that the domain name for a website is also available. You don't want to go through the process of incorporating only to find out you don't have access to a URL with the same name. Be aware that there are bots that scan what URLs people are looking to potentially buy. I recommend coming up with a list of potential business names, checking the state corporation office to confirm they're available. Then, only when you're ready to purchase the domain, check to see if it's available. If it is, purchase it right away. Domains typically cost around $10. If you check its availability, then wait a few days, the chances are good that a bot will have purchased the domain and you will need to pay thousands to buy it from them. Number 3, Articles of Incorporation. Articles of Incorporation is a legal document filed with the Secretary of State to create your nonprofit corporation. You must file Articles of Incorporation with the state's corporate filing office. In this document, you will fill out some basic information such as your nonprofit's name and office address. Although preparing this document isn't difficult, you do need to include specific language. There is a small fee associated with this document and it varies from state to state. Congratulations! You're done with incorporating your nonprofit. This is the easiest and the cheapest part of the process. It can be completed in a day and costs about $50 total. Once you have incorporated your nonprofit, you can move on to working on your tax-exempt status if you want to. Again, this is not necessary if you use a fiscal receiver. Having a tax-exempt status means that your organization does not pay any tax to IRS. There are close to 30 different types of nonprofit that can file for the tax exemption, and you can easily find the list online. LunART has a 501c3 status as one of the most common types, and it is reserved for charitable, literary, religious, and scientific organizations. Now, here is where all the fun starts. This process is lengthy and it can be exhausting. From the moment you start collecting, writing, and preparing your paperwork, which is estimated around 100 hours, to receiving the decision, it can take anything between 3 and 12 months. In addition to all the hours and work you need to put into it, this is the costliest part of the process. In order to complete this step, you need to file 1023 form and pay a $600 fee if your annual revenue is over $50,000. If this is under this sum, you can file a simpler 1023-EZ form and pay only around $250. However, if you estimate growth in the next year or so, I suggest filing the more comprehensive form and avoid extra paperwork and complications down the road. So let's dive into the 5 major steps you need to take to file for the tax exemption 501c3 status. Number 1, draft bylaws. Nonprofit bylaws is one of the most important documents that your nonprofit organization requires, and you should create the perfect bylaws for nonprofits, so take your time and familiarize yourself with this document. Bylaws are required by the IRS, and they serve as internal governing rules and procedures about meetings, record keeping, voting, and election of directors and officers. Number 2, Board of Directors. Your appointed Board of Directors make major policies and financial decisions for your organization. The number of directors varies from state to state, but usually it's a minimum of 3. For the founder of the organization, the board of directors are your allies. These are people that you trust, that believe in your organization. They are contributing to your organization in various ways, such as monetary or in-kind donations, or with their specific knowledge, skills, or connections. Eventually, with the expansion of the organization, you will fill in the gaps you're missing by recruiting directors with specific skills such as development, event productions, or legal advisor. Be very careful in choosing your board, as the livelihood of your organization depends on them, and they can ultimately remove you from your position if they feel you're not doing an adequate job. You're essentially choosing your own bosses. Number 3, hold the first board meeting. Now that you have your founding board of directors, it is time to hold the first meeting. At the first meeting, you will vote on the officers, adopt the bylaws, and discuss major steps for your organization, such as appointing the executive or artistic director or CEO, however you want to call it. Every board has a slate of officers: chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. Sometimes one person can share two positions. For example, LunART's treasurer is the secretary of the board as well. So let's talk briefly about these positions. Chair of the board, or board's president, is the head of the board and of the organization. The chair conducts board meetings and ensures that the board directives are implemented and monitored, chooses members of the committees of the board, such as executive, finance, or development committee, maintains good relationship with the community, works closely with the CEO or chief director to carry out the organization's goal and mission. Vice chair of the board, or vice president, is the second in command and may serve in the chair's place for board activities. Chair and vice chair work closely together, and the vice chair is usually a person that is groomed to become a chair of the board one day. Secretary of the board provides members with required meeting notices, prepares agendas, reviews meeting minutes, maintains board records, and provides guidance on proper meeting procedures. The secretary is prepared to take on the leadership role when the president and vice president are unavailable. The treasurer serves as the financial officer. If the organization has a finance committee, the treasurer is its chairperson. The treasurer is responsible for financial health of the organization. You would want a person with financial background to be in this position, as this person will be dealing with all the tax preparation, filings, and reporting. Number 4, applying for the Employee Identification Number, EIN. Be sure your organization is formed legally before you apply for an EIN. This process takes minutes and it is completely free. An EIN is similar to a social security number for your business. Number 5, Form 1023 application. The last and costliest step in this process is preparing and filing the 1023 form for 501c3 exemption status. This form is lengthy and very detail-oriented. They will ask you about the date and place of the organization's creation, organizational structure, organizational documents such as Articles of Incorporation bylaws, description of organization's past, present, and future activities, compensation of the organization's officers, directors, trustees, employees, and independent contractors, other members and individuals receiving benefits, the organization's history, including whether the organization is the successor of another one, specific activities and ways you will be collecting donations, as well as financial data for the past 4 years. As I already mentioned, I was waiting for several years before filing for 501c3 status with my organization. I wanted to have documented financial history, have a better picture of the structure needed to support my mission, as well as have data in order to forecast our financial future and activities. Once this is completed and you receive the approval letter, you will be able to collect tax-deductible donations from your donors, apply for state and national grants, and have the groundwork laid out to make a difference in this world. Starting a nonprofit is starting a business, so you'll need a thorough plan to get started. Don't be discouraged. The better you plan, the better your chances are at fulfilling your mission. Okay, my friends, this is it for today. Thank you for sticking around. I know this information can be overwhelming, but it is absolutely necessary if you want to create something that will last. This is only the tip of the iceberg, and there is so much more we can talk about, such as development strategies, event productions, marketing plan, financial tracking and reporting, and basically everything that goes into running a successful business and nonprofit. If you're interested in learning more, I offer consultations, so feel free to reach out to me via email at iva.ugrcic@gmail.com or iva@lunartfestival.org. Good luck on your business journey and don't forget to have fun. Bye, everyone.